So we are going to talk about frequency tables. So a basic frequency table has two columns. The first column lists the categories of the data, and the second column lists the frequency for each category. And basically that frequency table is going to show the number of times something occurs, like a data point. So the relative frequency of any category is the proportion or the percentage of the data values that fall in that category. So it'll be the frequency in the category or over the total frequency. And then there's the cumulative frequency. It's going to be the sum of all frequencies preceding the given category. So the other thing that can happen in these is we can actually bin our data. And that's when, like if we have quantitative data categories, it's useful to group or bin the data if you have several of the data points so that you can group them together as groups of 5 or groups of 10, wherever, and that way you can cover a range of possible values. All right, so first example, we have a teacher. She records the following list of grades she gave to her 25 students on a set of essays. We're going to make a frequency table with relative frequency and cumulative frequency. All right, so our categories are we've got A, B, C, D, and we also have F's. All right, so we're going to create, so this is 3.1 if you're in my class, and this will be example 1. So we're going to create a frequency chart or frequency table. First part is our category. We're going to have the essay grades. And then we're going to have our frequency. And then we'll have the relative frequency. And then we'll have the cumulative frequency. Now in our essay grades, we have A, B, C, D, and F. And then down here, we will have our total. All right, so what we got to do, we've got our chart here, we've got to figure out how many A's do we have. Well, I'm going to go back to my data, and I have 1A, 2 A's, 3 A's, 4 A's. So there are 4 goes in here. On our B's, I have 1B, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For C's, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. For D's, I have 1, I have 2, I have 3. And F's, we have 1 up here, and 1 down there, there's 2. Now, I want to check myself before I move forward. It said that she had gave her to her 25 students, right? So there should be a total of 25. So I want to go back and I want to add these. So 4 plus 7 is 11, plus 9 is 20, plus 3 is 23, plus 2 is 25. Because I want to make sure I didn't leave one out. Okay? Now, the next part, so this would be that basic frequency table that I talked about. Now, if I want to do relative frequency, I want to relate this frequency to the whole frequencies, the total of frequencies. So I've got 4 out of 25. So this will get me 0.16. This would be 7 out of 25. That'll get me 0.28. This would be 9 out of 25, which will be 0.36. And then this will get us 3 out of 25, which is 0.12. 2 out of 25, which gets us 0.08. Now, as I add those, and I would use a calculator to add those, this should total up to 1 because it should be the whole part of it. Now, the other thing we could do, and I didn't leave enough room on my deal here. I could probably make another column. But we can also write this as a percentage. So I could say, I'm just going to kind of go over the line. This could be 16%. This would be 28%. This would be 36%. This could have been written as 12%, and this could be 8%. And then we could do a percentage. So depending on what you're looking for in the graph. I just didn't leave enough space. All right, so that would be your relative frequency. So you can either sum them up to be 1 or change them to percentages and add them up to be 100% because they have to cover the whole total. All right, now the cumulative frequency is as it accumulates. So here we'll have 4. This would be 4 plus 7 equals 11. This one we could continue to add and do 4 plus 7 plus 9, which will get us 20. This one would be 4 plus 7 plus 9 plus 3, and that'll get us 23. This one would be 4 plus 7 plus 9 plus 3 plus 2, gets us a total of 25. So, and if you want to, I mean, you could take 11 plus 9 and then 20 plus just the 3 and then 23 plus the 2. But that's the total of the cumulative frequency. And it should also total, your last number should also be 25 because you're totaling them all up. So that's the difference. So if you're asked to just do a frequency chart, just do the first 2 columns. Relative frequency, do 3. And cumulative, you're going to do all 4. All right. Okay, so our next example is the Bend exam scores. So we're going to consider the following set of 20 scores on a 100-point exam. So we've got a list of 76. Let's see, let's find our lowest. I see a 72. We've got a list of scores. Our lowest is 72. And it looks like there's a 98. Our highest is 98 because I want to have an idea of what it is. We want to determine appropriate bins and construct a frequency table. Include columns for relative frequency and cumulative frequency and interpret the cumulative frequency. All right. So we've got scores that range from 72 to 98. So let's write down what we're talking about so we can look at it. So the range of scores are 72 to 98. So we're going to group them in 5. We have 20 scores, but it's not that big. If it was going from 0 to 100, I'd probably do groups of 10. But because you don't want that many groups, we're going from 72 to 98. Let's do a 5-point bin. We don't want any overlap between the bins, but the bins have to be the same width. So we can then count how many of those scores landed in each of the bins. So let's go ahead and start our frequency chart, and then we'll so we're going to do something similar to what we just did, except I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so I have space to write everything out a little bit better. All right. So this one, we're going to have scores. And so this will be the bins that we'll have. We're not going to do the individual scores. And then we'll have our frequency. And then our relative frequency. But make sure I leave a little bit more space to write in that one. And our cumulative frequency. All right. Alrighty, so for those bins, I'm going to put the top ones up here, and I'm going to start at 70 to 74, and I'm going to group them by 5s. So I'm going to put it from like low to high, I think. That's how I have my notes. So the top one, so if I go 70 to 74, the next group would be 75 to 79. Even though it doesn't look like it's 5, you have to count each of them. So it's not 70 to 75. It'd be 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. That's your 5 numbers. So do be aware of that. So we'll have our top scores then would be 95 to 99. And then we'd have 90 to 94. And 85 to 89. And 80 to 84, and 75 to 79, and 70 to 74. Okay, let's draw our lines. I got a little close on my numbers there. On an exam, I will give you a chart to fill in, so it just makes it easier and a little bit faster. All right, so now what we've got to do is go count our numbers. So from 95 to 99, I know I had that 98. Do I have anything else in that category? I do not, so there's only going to be 1. In 90 to 94, I have a 94, there's 1. And I have a 91, so that's 2. From 85 to 89, so 85 to 89, there's an 88, so there's 1. There's an 86, that's 2, and another 88 is 3. From 80 to 84, I have an 80, there's 1. 84 is 2. 81 is 3. So I have a total of 3. From 75 to 79, there's 1. That's a 76. There's 2, that's 78. 3 for 76. 4 for 75. 5 for 77. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. 6 for 79, and 7 was 75. And then from 70 to 74, we have a 72, there's 1. 72 is 2. 74 is 3. And 72 is 4. So again, I'm going to check my totals. So 1 and 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9, plus 7 is 16, plus 4 is 20. That is correct. That's how many it said that we had. All right, we're back to doing our relative frequency. So 1 over the total of 20 will get a 0.05. 2 over 20 will get a 0.10. 3 out of 20 is 0.15. And we have another one, so 0.15. And all I'm doing, if you're like, but where are you getting those numbers? I'm just using the calculator. So if I put on my calculator and I clear it, so I would take 1 divided by 20, I get 0.05. And then 2 divided by 20 gets me 0.1. I'm only adding the 0 on it so that they all have the same number of decimal places. And then 3 divided by 20 gets you 0.15. So that's all I'm doing is plugging it into the calculator. I'm just not showing you all of the calculator steps so that you don't have to watch me do every little thing. And our last one, 4 out of 20, will get us 0.20. Now again, I'm going to add these up. and it actually totals a 1. And again, you could have done the percentages as well, but I usually typically just go with the decimal place. Now we're going to do that last step on the cumulative frequency. So we've got 1. 1 plus 2 will get us 3. 1 plus 2 plus 3 will get us 6. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 will get us 9. 1 plus 2 plus, whoops, not plus, but 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 7 will get us 16. And then 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 7 plus 4 will get us a total of 20. And 20 is what we expect to find on the total cumulative. I will tell you this, so when you're working on your homework or when you're doing the exam, don't just slap down the decimal. You want to show me the fraction and this. And if you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, I want to see the work. Don't just give me final answers. It also makes it better for you to go back and look at what you've got. All right, our next problem is number 3, does it make sense? So the third category in my frequency table has a relative frequency of negative 25%. Well, if we go back and look at all of our numbers here, were any of them negative? They were not. So relative frequencies cannot be negative. I'll just tack that on at the bottom here. So it does not make sense that relative frequencies cannot be negative. Okay, so that would be your reasoning of why that one would not make sense. All right, so make sure you're working on your homework. That's the end of this lesson. So make sure you do your homework. And also, you have a frequency table. If you want to start working on it, you can. There's a frequency table and a graph activity. So the graphs will come about in the next section. So you'll be able to do those after we do the next section of material. So, but if you want, you could start working the frequency part where you're going to do exactly the things we just did. And this is a table of data of the favorite fast food restaurants here in Commerce, Texas for 21 students in a statistics class. I've already put the category down for you. So you're going to figure out the frequency, relative frequency, and cumulative frequency.